token awarding, and the last is closing and photo session.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for the first agenda is opening. Let's open our event today by reciting basmalah together.
The second agenda is reciting the Quran, that will be recited by Irwan Kurniawan. For Brother Irwan, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ardi wa ikhtilafil laili wan nahar wa ikhtilafil laili wan nahari la ayatil li ulil albab. الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار ربنا إنك من تدخل النار فقد أخزيته وما للظالمين من أنصار صدق الله العظيم.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for Brother Irwan.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for the next agenda is singing Indonesian anthem, Sang Surya and Mars Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. For all the audience, please stand up.
Universitas Ahmad, mengemban amanat mulia, siapkan insan cendekiawan, hari pembaharuan, berilmu dan beramal soleh, berperan dalam membangun umat, Quran dan hadis jadi pedoman, sivitas akademika, mengemban tugas bersama, sing-singkan lengan baju serentak, masyarakat siap berani, tunjukkanlah karya yang kawan timu, kembangkan teknologi, majulah adil demi nusa bangsa, Indonesia sejahtera. Adik amat tentu, Universitas Ahmad, mengemban amanat mulia, siapkan insan cendekiawan, hari pembaharuan, berilmu dan beramal soleh, berperan dalam membangun umat, Quran dan hadis jadi pedoman, sivitas akademika, mengemban tugas bersama, sing-singkan lengan baju serentak, masyarakat siap berani, tunjukkanlah karya yang kawan timu, kembangkan teknologi, majulah adil demi nusa bangsa, Indonesia sejahtera.
For the next agenda is welcome speech that will be delivered by the Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education. For Mr. Sayuti, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa syukrulillah wa la hawla wa la quwata illa billah. Allahumma sholli ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yaumiddin. Pertama, marilah kita panjatkan rasa syukur kita kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala yang sampai hari ini masih melimpahkan rahmat dan karunia-Nya, melimpahkan kasih sayang-Nya, sehingga di pagi yang dingin ini, karena amfitariumnya dingin memang, kita bisa hadir untuk belajar dari Pak Dr. David Dawson. Semoga tidak salah nyebutnya. Kalau salah enggak apa-apa, toh namanya bukan nama Indonesia. Saya nyambutnya bahasa Indonesia saja karena biar dia enggak ngerti. Menyambut kan untuk ditujukan kepada audien yang memahami bahasa saya. Kalau saya ngomong bahasa Inggris daripada enggak paham, ya lebih baik saya ngomong bahasa Indonesia. Atas nama fakultas kami mengucapkan terima kasih atas usaha dan kerja keras dari tim panitia, terutama dari PPG, Bu Dr. Trikenase, karena sudah memobilisasi mahasiswanya sebanyak ini ya. Kalau PPG-nya libur nggak ada isinya ruangan ini, jadi kosong. Jadi kami berterima kasih atas mobilisasi mahasiswa PPG dan kebetulan ya, ini kebetulan mata kuliah, saya lupa nama mata kuliahnya, pokoknya ada kepemimpinannya, proyek kepemimpinan yang 2 sedang berlangsung. Jadi tentu bagi dosen seperti saya senang sekali karena ada 1 SKS yang kita tidak perlu ngajar, cukup sambutan aja tapi dapat 1 SKS karena Pak David yang gantikan saya ya kan, meskipun nggak dapat honor. Nah, Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, topik educational leadership itu sangat penting dari pendidikan. Educational leadership adalah core of the core ya. Core of the core for any educational improvement. Tanpa nilai leadership ya, dimanapun kita berada, maka segala ikhtiar untuk educational improvement, perbaikan pendidikan itu tidak berjalan. Karena itu kepada seluruh mahasiswa-mahasiswi PPG, sama karir Anda di masa depan itu dipengaruhi, ditentukan oleh karakter atau jiwa leadership Anda. Kenapa ada proyek kepemimpinan 1 dan 2? Tujuannya adalah seluruh inisiatif improvement in education itu tidak bisa jalan tanpa jiwa leadership. Karena itu sering saya sampaikan di kelas, cita-cita Anda bukan hanya jadi guru, tapi jadi apa? Jadi pemimpin, minimal kepala sekolah. Kalau bisa jadi dekan seperti saya. Atau jadi rektor, pokoknya pemimpin. Dalam Islam juga kita mengenal kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyati. Every one of you is leader. Jadi setiap kita, bapak atau ibu adalah pemimpin dan akan wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi, dan setiap pemimpin akan diminta pertanggungjawabannya. Karena itu saya lagi leadership dalam konteks umum maupun pendidikan itu sangat-sangat penting, dan saya berharap, saya dorong adik-adik untuk mulai membangun jiwa leadership-nya. Bagaimana memulainya? Apakah saya merasa punya leadership? Apakah Anda merasa punya jiwa leadership? Gimana cara menengarainya? Bagaimana cara menandainya? Bagaimana cara mengidentifikasi bahwa kita punya jiwa leadership? Kira-kira apa? Anda punya jiwa leadership enggak? Punya ya? Alhamdulillah. Dan itu adalah kunci sukses Anda di masa depan. Jadi leadership siapapun dan institusi harus melahirkan leader-leader baru. Ya, saya tidak perlu lama-lama jadi dekan, nanti ada banyak penggantinya misalnya ya. Karena apa? Leadership yang berhasil itu ketika bisa melahirkan leader-leader baru. Nah, saya kira itu untuk Pak David, I want to extend gratitude on behalf of the Faculty of Education and Teacher Training for your willingness to share your expertise and your experiences to the all audience, especially student of teacher profession, profesi guru, expecting that they will be teacher soon, ya. Terutama cita-citanya kan jadi PNS, nah itu yang harus diamini oleh adik-adik semua ya. Dia nggak ngerti apa itu PNS nggak apa-apa, yang penting doa kita semua ya. Semoga ilmu yang diberikan oleh Pak David dosen bermanfaat bagi kita. Pak kalau nggak paham gimana ya nggak apa-apa, pokoknya dengerin aja mungkin sudah dapat pahala ya. Kita awali acara pagi hari ini, semoga mendapatkan berkah Kadang-kadang kita ngaji nggak paham kan dapat pahalanya ya. Ya, anggaplah sama ini pengajian Jumat pagi ya. Kurang lebihnya mohon maaf, kita awali dengan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Semoga sukses acaranya. Thank you very much for David. Dan mohon Pak Rifai bisa translate for the audience ya. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Sayuti, for the warm speech.
Okay, the next agenda is the main agenda which we are waiting for. Explanation from our guest lecturer, Dr. David Dawson. Before that, let me introduce Mr. Rifai as our moderator for today's seminar. Mr. Rifai currently serves through an academic path specifically in English Education Department, Universitas Ahmad, Dahlan. He pursued his master's degree from the University of Wollongong, Australia. He writes, teaches, and researches in teaching English to young learners, competitive public speaking, students' capacity building, strategic development projects for waste management, creative economy and tourism development. Now, he is also acting as the head of Pustekpar or Center of Creative Economy and Tourism in UAD. For Mr. Rifai, time is yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Mr. Sayuti, as the Dean of FKIP and the Associates, the Honorable and the Heads of Department under the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, and also our distinguished invited speaker, Mr. David Dawson, or Mr. Didi, Didi. And also our respectable, all of the audiences attending in the seminar or lecture today. Good morning all. How are you guys? Are you good? Fine, yep. Fine is reply in the elementary school, but because you are in the university, you can change to, you say wicked or cool. Yeah? How are you guys? Cool, yeah, that's university language, not elementary school language. Sorry. And one more thing, I want to share another colloquial in English. This is quite popular in international level. This is wicked, W-I-C-K-E-D, wicked. Wicked means cool or okay. So if I say FKIP Wade, say wicked. This Australian style. Okay, again, do you understand what I'm going to tell you? When I say FKIP Wade, you say wicked. Okay, everyone, yeah, from the front until the end, until the back students. FKIP Wade, only 1/3 of you. I need all of you. Again, FKIP Wade, wicked. Yeah, W-I-C-K-E-D. You cannot find this in the dictionary because this is a colloquial. Wicked means cool or keren. Keren, keren. All right. Well, my speaker is still in the process of installing and preparing the slides. So I'm going to tell you something about her, something about him. Well, I am Nurifai Ahsan. It's a great honor for me to stand here as the moderator in this very beautiful moment, the seminar international guest lecture by the speaker from international level, Mr. David Dawson. As you know that actually the issue of leadership is very popular and it's everlasting issue, especially in the young people. And I'm just talk and discuss with my friend. Actually, there are many problems of leadership for the youngsters, for the high school students. For example, there are many bullying cases, there are many crises of identity, and then there are problems of self-crisis as well. It is one impact of leadership. And today, we are happy because we are going to have sessions with the international expert in leadership, especially for young people. And he is going to discuss more about what is the importance of leadership skill for young people, and then what are the strategies to develop leadership for young people, and what are the challenges of leadership for young people in the future. And we hope also Mr. Didi, David Dawson, also share about the development of leadership in United Kingdom, especially for young people. We can make like contrastive analysis with Indonesian youngsters. Before I invite him, I would like to inform you a little bit about his short biography. Dr. David Dawson is lecturer in Gloucestershire Business Schools, University of Gloucestershire in United Kingdom. He is reader in leadership. Reader, in the first time I thought pembaca, ya, reader. But actually there is another meaning of reader. It is senior leader. Is that true? Senior leader, senior lecturer, senior leader. So it's not about pembaca, not reader, but it has different meaning. And he pursued his PhD in the structure and language of contemporary virtues in business, University of Gloucestershire, and then he finished his Master of Philosophy in the job attitude preferences in non-managerial job seekers in the University of Bristol, and also finished his Bachelor of Arts in Business Studies, University of Luton in 1993. And he does his teaching about globally responsible leaderships, and he also do many research, especially focuses on business ethics and how the positive management practices can help organizations become both productive and also ethic. So this is very interesting topics, because how can you manage industry and company in the two different way, not only profitable but also ethical for environment and for society. This is something exclusive and something expensive. Without further ado, now I'll call our distinguished speaker today. Everyone, please big send applause for our international guest speaker today, Mr. David Dawson. Mr. David, please welcome. Do you want to use this podium or you stand there?
Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here in Yogyakarta with you all. I'm just going to pronounce Gloucestershire. Can you say Gloucestershire for me? Gloucestershire. See, you can speak like locals in the UK already. I have the privilege of working at a very hard to pronounce university for anybody who's not English. I have a long history compared to your lives, I think, in being a leader in higher education. Like my colleague here, I have been a leader for 10 years previously. I am now a reader in leadership. What does that mean? It's a very archaic term. It's about 400 or 500 years old, the term reader. And it really does mean that I read books and try and impart knowledge. But my view of education is that you don't just read, you also do. And thank you. When I am working with students, I want them to have fun. So in the next 90 minutes that I've got with you, I hope that we will understand some theory, that we'll think about how we can apply that with our students, but also that we'll have some fun. I'm just wondering if the slides are, there they are, fantastic. Great, so, perfect. So if we can move on to the next slide, that's perfect. In terms of the agenda for today, I work in a school of business, by the way, so we work with business terminology. Our agenda for today is to deal with two of many contemporary theories on leadership. And one thing I'll just say to you is that even if you spent the next 10 years reading about leadership, you wouldn't read everything. So don't try, okay? Find some theories of leadership that you find interesting, that speak to you, and get to know those theories well. I'm going to talk about two today. One that I think is the full-range leadership model, which I think is useful for us understanding different types of leadership, and one which is my personal favorite, adaptive leadership, which deals with change. The second thing that I want to do today is talk about followership. I'm going to say it again, but you're not a leader without followers. And so we have to be clear on that. You, as teachers, in people who promote learning in your classroom, do lead your classes, and therefore, whenever you're with students, you are a leader. But also, we can lead in our organizations, in society, in our families, without having the title leader. As long as you've got people following what you do and that you're making a difference with them, then you are a leader because you have followers. And so anybody who's got followers is a leader for me. But we're going to talk a little bit more about followership. And through talking about those things, I'm going to hopefully demonstrate 2 or 3 exercises that we can use with students in a school context. So, without further ado, I like those words, thank you. Let's move on to the next slide. So if I could have the next slide. Okay, so first of all, let's think a little bit about some theory of contemporary perspectives on leadership. As I've just said, there's hundreds of different theories on leadership. And you are going to deal with a small number of them. So, contemporary theory has debates on a range of different issues. And as you can see, there's a lot of debate about what is leadership versus management, okay? And to a certain extent, generally speaking, we can say that leaders, compared to managers, have a broader focus. They are more visionary. Hopefully, they're more inspiring, and they inspire people to action. So when you're promoting leadership, what you need to do is do 2 things. One, as teachers promoting learning, you need to be inspirational in the classroom. And I'd like you to start thinking now, because I may ask you later on, what's the one thing that you do that inspires your students? How are you inspirational in the classroom? At the other end, we shouldn't dismiss management. Management is important. It enables us to get things done. We can't just be visionary, we also have to deliver things. So when we are in a classroom, we have to manage our class we have to make sure that we deliver our sessions with our students and that we give a good experience for them. That means we need to have materials ready in the room. That means that we have to have a plan of what we're going to do and that we have to go through the mechanisms of delivering it. So there's a lot of debate in contemporary theory about the difference between leadership and management. There's definitely an overlap, but we need to be we talk a lot about those differences. We talk a lot about the differences between personal traits versus assigned roles. Am I a leader just because I get that title as a leader? Or am I a leader because I display certain qualities, certain skills, certain abilities? My view would be that we are leaders primarily because of our qualities and skills. It helps us sometimes to have a title of leader because it helps to note to people who's in charge. But anyone can be a leader, and you should all realize that. Everybody in this room is a leader in some way, in some context. And so it's relevant to all of us. At the same time, we also need to focus on how different situations will lead us, or lead to the need to us to lead differently. My preferred style of leadership is to be one, not that's democratic, but one that's consultative. I've led in my institution, and you may well lead in your schools later on in your careers. I would expect that most of you will. What sort of leader do you want to be? Now, I want to be a consultative leader. That doesn't mean that I don't make decisions and that I won't do things contrary to what maybe my staff want, because sometimes you have to make difficult decisions. But it does mean that I will consult with them. I will discuss with them the options, seek their ideas. And certainly, I'm only one person. And so, I've only got so many ideas in me. If I was to ask all of you for your ideas, I know that I will get new ideas that will lead me to do something better than if I just did it myself. So, but in other situations, in emergency situations, or some of the work that I do is not just in education, but in the defense sector and in business, in certain situations, let's say if you're a military personnel and you're coming under fire, then actually consultative leadership is not the thing to be doing. If people are shooting at me from up there, I don't want to be having a conversation about how we respond. I want to be ordering people to get on the floor behind cover so that they are safe. So the context and situation can have an impact on the way that we lead. And we need to be conscious that we may need to flex the way we lead to different situations. If we can stay on the last slide, please. Can we go back one? Thank you. And there's a lot of debate, the final point, on the exchange between leaders and followers. What we call leadership management exchange, the shorthand for that in English is LMX. Okay, that we have there. We often, if you ever hear people talking about LMX in the context of leadership, that's what we're talking about. Okay. So, the exchange between leaders and followers and how that occurs is of quite a lot of interest when we're talking about leadership theory. Okay, is this okay so far? Do you need to translate anything?
Okay. From these slides or from your verbal one?
But do you have, do you want me to talk about this more frequently, or just that every slide? So I stop at each slide, and then you do it. You want to do that now? Afterwards. Okay. Let's go on to the next slide then. Okay. So, as I've already said, there's hundreds of different theories of leadership, and what we are going to deal with today are two of those. We're going to talk about the full range leadership model, FRLM, and we're going to talk about the theory of adaptive leadership. We probably won't have time to talk much about the immunity to change methodology, but certainly those are the two things we're going to deal with. Okay.
Ya, jadi berikutnya kita akan berusaha membahas lebih lanjut tentang berbagai jenis teori tentang leadership, terutama yang dominan sekarang ini yaitu full range leadership model, serta adaptive leadership dan imunitas untuk mengubah sebuah metodologi. Mungkin kira-kira sebaiknya apa semuanya yang disampaikan saya translate atau main point-nya aja ya? Main point aja ya. Nanti kalau kurang jelas catat, nanti pasti tanya aja bisa ditanyakan juga. Oke, next.
Okay, if we move on to the next slide then. Let's talk a little bit about the full range leadership model. So let's move on to the next slide. This is a model that was created about 25 years ago by Avolio and then developed by Avolio and Bass. And they argue that the full range leadership behaviors that we have and our ability to apply them in the right situation is what denotes a good leader from one who maybe is ineffective. And they divide, though, the leadership models and the different sorts of leadership approach we can have into two different groups. First of all, they have transactional leadership styles. And those styles are laissez-faire leadership, which we might term as hands-off, management by exception, where we just go and do things as a leader when we need to put out a fire, put out something that's going wrong, and then an approach based upon contingent rewards, where we make a deal with people to make things happen.
Ya, jadi ada dua jenis teori kepemimpinan yang dalam kategori full range leadership model. Yang pertama transaksional behavior atau perilaku transaksional, dan juga yang kedua perilaku transformasional. Untuk yang kategori pertama yaitu perilaku transaksional, ada tiga jenis kepemimpinan ya. Yang pertama ini bahasa Prancisnya agak susah, laissez-faire, yang artinya kira-kira melepas gitu ya, menyerahkan ke publik. Kemudian yang kedua berusaha mengatasi masalahnya sendiri. Kemudian yang ketiga let's make a deal, itu transaksional, kira-kira seperti win-win solution, mencari titik temu antar keduanya. Satu lagi yang tadi masih lupa, mungkin can I repeat the last points before this slides? I think it's quite important point, or just strike one.
I've only done transactional so far,
Okay.
so I'm going to do transformational.
All right, yeah, and then continue to transformational.
Transformational behaviors, which are preferred, are things like individualized consideration, where we show compassion for people in our leadership and get them to do what we want to do because we are compassionate more generally. Intellectual stimulation, where we get people to do creative things and think outside of the box. Inspirational motivation. I was asking you all to be inspiring for your students earlier. This is an example of that style, where we develop a vision and get people to commit to delivering to it. So they do things of their own volition without us having to tell them what to do, in support of that vision, independently. And then idealized influence is where we just show by example what we ought to be doing, and don't ever underestimate the power of leading by example. If you set a bad example and you put forward and show habits as a leader or exasperation or behaviors that you wouldn't want your followers to show, well, if you're showing them, expect them to pick up on them and be like you, because they're probably going to be looking up to you.
Jenis kedua yaitu perilaku yang transformatif, ya, transformational behavior, yang terdiri dari 4 jenis. Yang pertama compassionate leadership, yang cenderung untuk menyampaikan dan mentransferkan apa prinsip dia dalam kepemimpinan. Yang kedua kreatif atau intellectual stimulation, yang berbeda dengan yang lain sehingga dia berusaha untuk distinktif atau berbeda. Yang ketiga inspirational motivation, yang berbagi dengan orang lain, supaya orang lain juga ikut merasakan dan mempunyai apa yang dia miliki. Dan yang keempat idealized influence, itu berusaha untuk Can you explain the last one? Idealized influence.
So it's really about setting a good example. It's about, we say walking the walk. It's about, not just saying what you want people to be, not just, but showing them as well through your own behaviors.
Okay, yeah. Idealized influence tidak hanya menyampaikan saja, mungkin secara teoris, tapi juga memberikan contoh gitu ya, dan memberikan demonstrasi atau menunjukkan bagaimana sesungguhnya yang dia inginkan. Jadi tidak sekedar menyampaikan saja. Okay, got the points. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next slide. Thank you. And we can see these different styles of leadership mapped. And what Avolio and Bas would argue is that depending on the circumstances that we are leading in, then we should adopt these different approaches. However, overall, we would want to work on the top right-hand side, because we know that they are more effective and we know that they are more engaging, but it is more demanding on the leader to do those things. Okay, we need to think about who we are as a leader. So, ideally, we would be able to go to either idealized influence or inspirational motivation at least. We want to be in that quadrant.
Okay. Sebenarnya banyak yang dibahas dari full range leadership model ini, dari mulai efisiensi, pasif, inefektif, dan serta aktif, tapi kita akan fokus ke yang kanan atas, yaitu pada aspek efisiensi dan aktif, sehingga nanti pembahasan kepada individual considerations, kemudian intellectual stimulations, motivasi yang inspiratif, serta idealized influence. Jadi fokus kita pada yang paling atas kanan. Ya.
Okay. If we can move to the next slide. And let's skip through these. So if we can just go through a number of slides. Let's get through the laissez-faire because we don't have time for everything.
So
okay.
This one. You can say skip if you.
Yeah,
if
let's
skip.
skip.
Terus. Yeah.
And skip.
Skip. Terus Mas, ya, next.
And skip.
Skip. Berikutnya.
We have a lot to skip.
So we will running like a car. When you think it's good, then you can say stop.
Okay, if we stop with this one at the end of this slide.
Back or this one?
No, yeah, we can go with this one. Let's stop at the end of this one, please. Okay.
Yeah, stop.
Back one. Yeah. Okay. Just a little bit more detail then on inspirational motivation, because this is one of the leadership styles that we want to promote. Okay? I want you, as leaders in your classrooms, to be inspirational and motivational. When I think of my teachers, if you think of your teachers, hopefully you had some who were inspiring. What was it that was inspiring about them? Was it that they had the most up-to-date knowledge? Was it that they had authority in the classroom and kept order? Was it that they involved you? Yeah? Was it that they made things fun while still getting the learning points across? So, I want you to think about who inspired you in the classroom and what you would want to take from their practice, because nobody's perfect, you won't want to take everything. And think about how you're going to inspire your students. On the other hand, I also want you to think about how you can get students within your student groups to inspire each other. How are you going to promote the leaders of the future? Because that is your job, is to, whatever you're teaching, whatever your subject area, to inspire the future leaders in that subject. The future leader in mathematics, the future leader in psychology, the future leader in physical education and sports. Yeah. How are you going to inspire them, and how are you going to get them in the future to inspire others? Okay? So here, that is top there is the instruction is inspire others to perform. I'm calling you to that, but how do we do that? So we need to create a strong sense of purpose, tell people why they should be doing something, convince them that it's important. Help them have the skills to deliver. Help them learn. Challenge them to be better than they are now. Okay. And send the right messages. Okay? Make sure that they know how to do that for others as well.
Jadi yang diharapkan dari sini adalah yang pertama dari sebenarnya siapa yang memberikan inspirasi pada kalian, ya. Jadi tugas guru di masa depan di ruang masing-masing itu memberikan pemahaman pada mahasiswa. Pertama, siapa yang memberikan inspirasi pada kalian, kemudian bagaimana apa yang membuat kalian merasa terinspirasi oleh orang tersebut, ya. Kemudian bagaimana kalian sebagai guru atau pemimpin kelas bisa menyampaikan pentingnya menjadi pemimpin di kelas tersebut atau memberikan inspirasi. Kemudian bagaimana caranya supaya para siswa saling menginspirasi satu sama lain. Ini yang kemudian berpengaruh terhadap yang terakhir, yaitu sending the message. Bagaimana supaya inspirasi ini menjadi pesan bersama bagi semua orang di setiap konteks maupun situasi.
Okay, thank you. Next slide. Let's just bring those items up. In doing many of the things that I've just asked you to do, you do need to demonstrate idealized influence. What does that mean? Create a vision that's inclusive of everybody in your classroom, but also enable them to create visions that are inclusive of broad ranges of people, that don't exclude people. Remember, I said earlier, you're not a leader without followers. So if your policies and the way you do things exclude people, then you're going to have fewer followers, so you're going to be less of a leader. Okay? Show through your behaviors persistence in pursuing good ends. Yeah? That's what we're talking about. We're saying walk the walk. We don't expect what people are doing as leaders or that what we're doing as a team to be easy. In fact, good teams do difficult things. Yeah? But we do expect them to be able to persevere, to get there in the end. And we need to show that to our own behaviors as leaders. Develop trust with people. Develop trust with your students. And get them to develop trust with others. Now, one of the best ways of developing trust is to allow people to make mistakes and realize they're not going to get blamed for it. Let people make mistakes and learn from them. Okay? Learning from mistakes is important. My view is, I only ever learn through making mistakes. Yes, reading books. Yes, talking to people. But my main learning comes from making mistakes. And I make many mistakes every day. But I hope I never make a mistake twice.
Oke, kenapa prinsip idealized influence penting? Karena dengan bertindak itu lebih besar pengaruhnya daripada berbicara dan membuat kerja menjadi sebuah kerja tim yang itu menjadi lebih efektif meskipun tantangannya banyak ya. Karena karena kalau bersama pasti bisa. Dan satu hal lagi, seorang pemimpin harus punya persistence atau keteguhan hati untuk bisa mencapai tujuan akhir dari yang ingin dia sampaikan apapun yang terjadi. Nah, kemudian salah satu yang ditekankan developing trust. Kenapa ini penting? Karena itu memberikan kesempatan dia untuk percaya diri. Salah satu caranya adalah membiarkan anggota kita atau orang lain atau yang kita bina itu berbuat salah, karena dengan kesalahan itu dia bisa belajar untuk lebih baik. Akan tapi jangan berbuat salah yang berkali-kali, begitu. So don't make twice mistakes. Yeah.
What?
Making mistake is okay, but not making so many mistakes.
Yeah,
Learning
not too many mistakes.
Okay. Ya, jadi berbuat salah itu boleh untuk memberikan trust, tapi jangan sampai berulang-ulang karena itu berarti tidak belajar dari kesalahan yang sudah ada.
I think the point that I'd make is just focus on that thing I said. Make mistakes, but only make them once. Yeah, and then your number of mistakes will reduce. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Okay. So overall, why am I talking about the full-range leadership model? I'm talking about the full-range leadership model because it can help us understand the different styles of leadership that we might come across and gives us a tool as teachers to start analyzing what people do in action. And in a moment, we're going to do a small exercise that hopefully will enable you to start analyzing what style of leadership that some of you have. I don't know if you want to translate before I go on to that.
Yeah. Yep, nanti kita akan berlatih untuk sebuah aktivitas yang mencoba menerapkan transitional leader untuk mengerjakan sebuah seperti permainan kecil-kecilan, gitu. Small workshop. Oh, ini sedang mencari yang untuk mainannya itu. Enggak perlu terjemahkan kalau ini ya. Are you looking for the papers? Okay, I know.
Sorry, I'm used to walking around the room a lot, so I'll grab a mic in a minute. Okay, so in terms of what we're talking about here, transactional leaders, okay, these styles may be appropriate in certain situations, okay, where we have certain sorts of staff, or as I said earlier, when we're in an emergency situation, okay. I think laissez-faire, maybe not, but really the transactional approaches are mainly based upon an exchange where we give and we take on a daily basis on the basis of each task.
Jenis pemimpin yang transaksional akan cocok di beberapa situasi, ya, di mana biasanya konteksnya adalah saling memberi dan saling menerima dengan keuntungan yang sama, sehingga bisa menggunakan pendekatan transaksional.
So, if we move on to the next slide, please. Transformational leadership, on the other hand, those other styles up the top right-hand side, put followers at the front. Okay? The leader's job is to help the followers become better, and that is the leader's purpose. Yeah? The leader serves the followers rather than the followers serve the leader. Okay? And through that, we get much more done because people act independently and autonomously within the context of our shared vision. So our job is to inspire followers to follow us in the pursuit of a vision. Our job is not to tell them on a detailed level, day to day, what to do.
Jenis berikutnya yaitu transformational leader. Ini orientasinya adalah bisa menghasilkan follower atau anggota yang lebih baik, sehingga dengan anggota yang lebih baik maka diharapkan anggotanya lebih independen, lebih sadar diri, sehingga akan bisa bersama-sama untuk mencapai tujuan. Jadi tidak tergantung kepada pemimpin utama, tidak bergantung apa yang harus dilakukan, tapi bisa mandiri dan bisa sadar diri dengan memberikan dengan menggunakan pendekatan transformatif ini.
Okay, before we move on to the next slide, I want to do a little activity. Now, some of you have a pink post-it note next to you. Okay, can you translate?
Kayaknya ada beberapa kertas putih yang ditempelkan di kursi. Pink di sebelah kalian. Do you want them to take the pink?
Okay,
pink paper,
if you have one next to you, please pick it up.
Ya, silakan diambil yang merasa sebelahnya ada kertas pinknya.
Okay.
Enggak ada. Masnya pindah sini biar dapat kertasnya. Loh, kiri dan kanan ya, nah itu loh sini. Nah gitu. Tidak harus malu ya kalau membawa kertas pink ya. Pink boy namanya, pink boy.
No, don't pass it down, back to the end, Whoever picks it up, you are our leaders.
Tidak boleh dikasih yang lain ya, itu jatahnya Anda. Ya. Itu keberuntungan Anda, jadi jangan ditolak keberuntungannya.
Can you please write your name on the post-it notes?
Ya, silakan ditulisin nama kalian, full name or nickname. David, nickname or full name?
Just whatever name.
Ya,
name.
nama silakan tulis nama lengkap, panggilan, nama panggung, boleh. Ini ada namanya. Enggak bawa ballpoint ya, repot ini. Ya, yang tidak bawa ballpoint bisa pinjam sebelahnya ya. Sudah semua? Silakan tulis namanya.
Okay, let's have some quiet because I need to talk to these leaders because I have a task to do.
Oke. Silakan yang lain agak sunyi agak tenang dulu karena dia mau nyampein pesan kepada sesama leaders baru yang hari ini ada. Ya, they are yours. Oke.
Okay, leaders. I need you to get your post-it note from there or there, whichever end you are at, to the other end of the row of your chairs. Okay? I don't care how you do that. You have a team of people between you. Okay? The people between there and there are your team. You think about how you're going to use them to deliver on that task. Okay? I'm going to walk around and watch you whilst you're doing that. And can I just say, the leader who gets it to the other end quickest is not necessarily the winner, but it would be quite fun, wouldn't it, if they were?
Nanti ya juga tadi isusnya apa tadi ya? Yang ditulis apa ditulis ya? What is something, write something atau pindah saja?
So first of all, I want you to write your name as the leader on the piece of paper.
They did.
Yeah, okay, good. I want them to get it to the other end of their row. Yeah. Yeah, so they can get it to the other end of their row, and they can do that however they like.
Okay, jadi
But they can't do it until I say start.
Oke, silahkan yang dari kiri bisa sampai ke kanan, kertasnya ya. Kemudian yang kanan bisa sampai ke kiri, kertasnya aja. Tapi belum dimulai. Ya, belum dimulai ya. Nanti sahabat-sahabat dulu. Bagaimana caranya supaya kertas yang ada tulisan nama Bapak Ibu yang sudah memegang bisa sampai ke ujung selatan dan ujung utara. Entah di apapun caranya ya. Can they start now?
Start.
Ya, silakan dimulai ya. Mungkin maksudnya caranya lebih kreatif mungkin ya. Kalau cuma gini-gini nggak ada kreatifnya ya. Kalau nggak kreatif nggak jadi transformatif leader nanti.
Can the people on this side who now have a post-it note read out the names very quickly, shout out the name of that's on the post-it note so we can verify it's come from the other end.
Ya, silakan disebutkan nama yang ada di kertas pinknya.
Ini
nggak ada sebelah ini. Oh.
Did it not get to the other end?
Oh my goodness. It's gone in 50 seconds. Ya, ini next line atasnya.
At the back.
Sebutkan namanya yang keras.
Okay.
Sri Susanti. Berikutnya.
This side.
Ya, sebelah kanan silakan dibaca nama yang ada di situ. Loh, nggak ada juga. Hilang berarti. Berikutnya.
Get to the end. Okay. I'm just going to do it the way I would do it. Sorry, can you give me one of them? You've got two. This is the way I would do it. Okay, I'm going to get back up on the stage. Back where I'm meant to be.
Ya, big applause tadi caranya tepuk tangan.
I want you to think now, given the full range leadership model, what style of leadership were your leaders using? Now, I saw people passing down the piece of paper, and most of you did that. Yeah? And that was a collaborative way of working, which just occurred, yeah? I didn't see any consultation though. Yeah? It just occurred like that. I'm interested that no leaders decided to get up and just run to the other end, which would have been quite autocratic, but maybe very efficient.
Ya, jadi tadi menarik karena ada banyak usaha yang dilakukan oleh para leaders tadi, ada yang sekedar mengedarkan kertas pinknya, meskipun tidak ada proses konsultasi atau komunikasi ya, tahu sama tahu lah kira-kira gitu ya. Sampai ke sana, ada juga yang agak ekstrim, lari sendiri ke tempat yang dituju, meskipun agak berusaha keras, tapi itu cukup efektif karena kertasnya cepat sampai dibanding yang rolling tadi. Okay.
So, this is an example of the sort of thing you could maybe do in the classroom to promote some activity that you can analyze in terms of leadership. And I've got an example up there which has got groups of 4 or 5 students having an egg and a spoon and asking them to move it from one place to another. Now the assumption might be they have to use the spoon to move the egg. Of course, they could just pick it up and throw it. And some of you did that in the room, which was the group that decided that they were going to roll it up and throw it. That was quite innovative, and it wasn't the leader that decided to do that. The innovative idea that was more efficient in some ways occurred from one of the followers.
Jadi nanti bisa dibuat seperti ini di kelasnya masing-masing, membuat kelompok mahasiswa 4 atau 5 orang dan diterapkan, mungkin bisa menggunakan barangnya seperti sendok. Nah, yang menarik tadi adalah ada adegan di mana ada anggota yang tidak mengikuti instruksi dari pimpinan, tapi begitu diedarkan langsung dilemparkan ke ijeng yang lain. Nah, itu cukup inovatif, tapi itu cukup efektif karena mempercepat proses, dan itu hasil dari transformatif karena anggotanya menjadi lebih independen untuk memikirkan langkah berikutnya. Semoga nggak salah.
Okay, so hopefully you can start to understand how in the classroom we can have a little bit of fun, but also start to talk about leadership with our students. And I want to see the interesting thing for me is when we see students do something different, innovative, and don't do everything that we might be expected to do socially, but do something that's different, but still within the boundaries of the rules. And so there's an example there. If I was moving an egg from one place to another, I certainly wouldn't be doing it with a spoon.
Jadi sebenarnya latihan seperti tadi tidak memberikan judgement benar salah, tapi para siswa yang untuk dididik leadership bisa berkreatif sebebasnya, yang penting masih dalam kerangka untuk pengembangan leadership, apapun yang mereka lakukan untuk menunjukkan kreativitas mereka.
Okay, let's move on to the next slide, please. Okay, these are the sorts of questions that you could ask after doing that exercise. I'll let you reflect on those. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, now we're going to deal a little bit with adaptive leadership. This is my favorite leadership theory, partly because of my experiences as a leader are that most of what we do as leaders is about seeing people through change and creating change.
Ya, ini merupakan favorit saya jenisnya karena bisa menyesuaikan dengan situasi dan kondisi yang ada di lingkungan yang saya tuju. Adaptive leadership.
Okay, so this theory comes from Heitz and his colleagues at Harvard University. It's a fairly accessible theory to get to grips with. And it's fairly realistic, and it's probably one of our more up-to-date leadership theories. And their argument is that most problems of leadership are about making our organizations change, okay? and doing things differently rather than staying the same. And so this really raises the question for us about how do people face change and how do people develop. If we can move on to the next slide.
Ya, yang menarik dari adaptive leadership adalah selalu menuntut anggota dan komunitas untuk mengubah manajemen supaya menyesuaikan dengan kondisi dan tuntutan yang ada di masyarakat sehingga tetap bertahan. Jadi keuntungan dan kelebihan dari adaptive leadership bisa menyesuaikan dengan perkembangan masyarakat yang ada.
Under adaptive leadership, the role of the leader is to provide direction by identifying the challenges that we face, let people feel pressure to adapt and deliver upon those challenges for themselves in their own way, and really to support people in building their resilience to change so that change becomes part of their habit rather than something that they are uncomfortable with.
Agar model kepemimpinan adaptif ini bisa berjalan, maka pemimpin harus memberikan arahan yang jelas dengan cara menunjukkan berbagai tantangan dan pertanyaan kunci kepada para anggota sehingga mereka mengetahui hal itu, kemudian membuat anggotanya atau orang-orang tertekan dalam hal positif, yaitu selalu bergerak untuk tidak bisa bertahan, kemudian juga memberikan dukungan pada orang-orang untuk bisa kokoh, bakoh atau teguh terhadap perubahan supaya bisa resilience atau bertahan terhadap perubahan yang ada.
Okay, next slide please. And what we want from followers under adaptive leadership are people who are willing to experiment, who take on the responsibility to drive things and do things differently. So they lead on their areas of expertise and take their full role within a group or organization, that they engage in the change agenda and contribute to moving things forward, and they seek support, but only when it's necessary for them to.
Sedangkan dari pihak anggota atau pengikut yang diharapkan dengan adaptive leadership adalah mereka diharapkan bersedia untuk atau mau untuk mencoba, kemudian juga mau bertanggung jawab, kemudian juga mau untuk mencoba memimpin di wilayah keahlian mereka, kemudian terlibat dalam agenda perubahan yang diagendakan oleh pemimpin, serta meminta bantuan atau dukungan dari pihak lain ketika itu merasa diperlukan.
Okay. Let's stay on this slide please, let's not change it. I want to do another exercise now. I would like I would like you all to cross your arms. Like this? However you would normally. So my definition of crossing your arms is if you're waiting at a bus stop and you're bored, or how would you cross your arms?
Silangkan tangannya.
However they would normally do it. Yeah, that's right. However.
Silakan menyilangkan tangannya sesuai dengan gaya masing-masing.
Does everybody cross their arms?
Not fingers ya, tapi arms.
Do you do that at a bus stop, really?
Kalau sedang nunggu busway atau apa itu loh, nunggunya itu posisinya bagaimana? Nunggu gabut itu loh maksudnya, itu gimana tangannya? Disilangkan tangannya ya.
Okay, that's fine too.
Boleh.
Okay.
Cross those arms.
I want you now to cross your arms the other way.
Atau silahkan dengan cara yang lain, tidak harus bersilangan tapi tangannya bagaimana kalau dalam posisi.
So if you're like that, go like that.
Yang biasanya dan senyamannya. Harus gitu ya.
The other way. How did that feel? Crossing your arms the other way.
Kalau mencoba menyilangkan tangan dengan cara yang lain dari sebelumnya, biasanya gimana rasanya? Can you speak louder so he can understand you? Uncomfortable. Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, yeah? We are often uncomfortable doing things that we are not used to doing.
Yes.
So we all cross our arms in the same way. Some people will go like that, some people will go like that, but as individuals, we always do it the same way, okay? And this is an exercise you can do very simply to make people understand that change makes us uncomfortable because we're doing something that maybe is different, is not what we would normally do.
Ya, jadi berikutnya akan mencoba latihan bagaimana kita akan melakukan sesuatu yang berbeda, mengubah dari sesuatu yang sebelumnya dilakukan. Tentunya tidak nyaman, tapi itu perlu dilakukan. Oke, silakan bersiap nanti ya.
Okay, I want now the people on the center aisle row.
Which side? Which side?
Both sides.
Both side, yeah.
That side and that side. I want you all to get up and move 4 spaces into your aisle, and then other people will have to move around for you.
Ya,
Okay, could
silakan
you all do that for me,
berdiri
please?
yang di baris tengah ini, yang di tengah. Ini namanya aisle ya, gang itu ya, lorong ya, lorong. Silakan berdiri.
So everybody on the aisle, stand up, and then I want them to move 4 into.
Ya, silakan bergeser for
Four,
left and right. Ya.
4 seats in that way or 4 seats in that way.
Silakan pindah ke kursi keempat ya, masing-masing kalian.
Other people will need to move out of the way of you.
Ya, hitung dari tempat ibu, bapak ibu berdiri, kemudian keempat kiri, keempat kanan. Kiri kanan, yang kiri ke kiri, yang kanan ke kanan. Ini pindah ke 4, ke baris kursi keempat, ini juga pindah 4 ke kanan. Nah, masalah harus gantian duduk atau berdiri terus itu terserah katanya. 4 ya, 1, 2, 3, 4 sini berarti. Kursi keempat dari tempat semula berdiri, kursi keempat. Bukan kursi pertama. Nah, berarti kursi keempatnya ada 1, 2, 3, 4. Ini untuk menerapkan prinsip adaptif tadi itu ya.
Okay. What's the view like from your new seat? How's it different from where you were before?
Mungkin ada salah satu yang sharing rasanya dapat kursi baru gimana? Bahasa Indonesia boleh, ini saya terjemahin kalau enggak bahasa Inggris. Salah satu yang hari ini moodnya paling tinggi. Ada salah satu ini ya, satu ini. Iya, coklat-coklat kan bagus dari Jumat. Ya.
Tes. Cek, oke. Perasaannya kursinya panas ya karena sudah dipakai yang sebelumnya.
Oh, sweet. She feels the seat is hot because already been seated by previous person.
So sticky.
So sticky.
Can you pass back 2 rows and we'll get the other person's?
Satu-satu. Semua harus ngomong. Nggak boleh dilepas. Kualat. Langsung bahasa Inggris saja. Bisa? Langsung bahasa Inggris bisa?
Langsung aja.
Nah, berdiri dulu. Langsung bahasa Inggris. Rasanya gimana punya kursi baru? Ya.
Rasanya grogi soalnya ini cowok semua.
Oh, she feels nervous because she sits between 2 men.
Oh, they're terrible. You can swap around again if you're uncomfortable.
It's terrible ya. Oke, berikutnya.
Sugeng enjing nggih, Mr. David.
Ya. Repeat please.
I speak in Japanese language.
Yes.
Ojeh pangamutan.
No, he speaks in Japanese. He said sorry.
Mr. David, thank you for coming in Yogyakarta is Javanese culture. I want to speak in Javanese with you.
Do you speak Japanese?
I do not speak Japanese.
If I speak sugeng enjing, you can say sugeng enjing mas.
When he say sugeng enjing, this is Japanese language, sugeng enjing.
Yeah.
And then you reply sugeng enjing mas.
Sugeng enjing mas.
Yes. Okay.
But not.
Okay, try again. Sugeng enjing, Mr. David.
Super enjing mas.
Okay, give applause.
That's all.
Okay,
What?
so I'm learning a new language.
Language ya.
Matur sembah nuwun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Loh, tadi pertanyaannya belum dijawab ya?
Oh iya, perasaan saya ketika duduk di kursi baru itu rasanya itu sangat canggung karena harus ada teman yang di sini agak sedikit banyak bicara, di sini diam saja.
Oh,
sedangkan saya mau ke sini juga dia diam lagi, jadi bingung mau seperti apa.
He feel a little bit confused because he got new friends, which is having different characteristics.
Ah.
One on the right side is very cool, and then on the left side is much cooler.
Okay, thank you. Can I just ask for a show of hands? Out of those people who had to move, including those people who were disrupted by people moving, who felt a little bit disgruntled or upset? If you put your hand up if you didn't want to move.
Siapa yang merasa sebenarnya nggak mau pindah itu ada? Yang sudah pindah tapi sebenarnya nggak mau pindah, raise your hands. Ya ini one. Yang sebelah sini from the right side. Sebenarnya siapa yang sebenarnya nggak mau pindah itu?
Well,
jujur aja nggak apa-apa, nggak ada hukumannya. Gitu. The one, two, this one. Raise your hand higher, please.
So generally speaking, you're good at change, but there's some people who are not comfortable with it. I think we need to understand that. The moving of the seats exercise helps us, generally speaking, if I go into a lecture every week for 10 weeks, everybody sits in the same seats as they did last week, yeah? And actually, people don't like to change. People don't like to move. I used to travel by train into London every day. I sat in the same seat every weekday for 28 weeks of the year.
Jadi sebenarnya normal kalau ada yang merasa nggak suka pindah kursi karena mempertahankan yang sudah ada ya. Okay. Berubah itu membuat malas. Contohnya seperti kita ketika mengajar itu juga seringnya kita suka dengan kebiasaan yang sudah kita lakukan.
So my question to you is, who here was thinking about the chance to move as being a problem, and who here was thinking, oh great, I'm going to meet some new friends?
Apa di sini ada yang mau sharing, siapa yang merasa tidak suka berubah, dan ada yang merasa aku harus berubah karena pengen dapat teman baru? Berarti 2 orang. Ya. Ini kan sudah bahasa Indonesia, masa tidak paham juga? Kalau paham berarti ngacung dong gitu. Harus responsif ya.
So those people who were thinking, oh great, I'm going to see some new friends and I'm going to be able to see David Dawson from a different perspective, have a positive view and attitude to change. Everybody else who felt slightly uncomfortable or, oh, why do I have to move? You're not as open to change. The point of this exercise is not just to make that point. It's to emphasize also that leaders need to move people from the point of thinking, I don't really like change, to welcoming it. So we need to help people get an attitude which accepts change, welcomes it, and so that they are resilient to change. And that's part of our job as teachers, is to help people understand that people, first of all, are uncomfortable with change, but 2, to give leaders strategies for helping people become better at it.
Jadi lebih bagus kalau dengan perubahan itu sebaiknya kita berpositif thinking ya, karena perubahan akan terjadi Dan diharapkan kita menerima, welcome the change, kemudian get into it atau ikut di dalamnya, dan kemudian juga menjadi akhirnya ketika kita bisa ikut, adaptif, maka kita bisa resilience. Resilience itu bertahan dalam perubahan yang ada. Karena kalau tidak berpikir secara positif, maka akan tidak bisa bertahan dengan perubahan yang ada.
Okay, the next two slides have questions and answers around the activities. I'm sure you're going to be given my slides, so I'm going to skip through them. So if we can go to the next slide.
Berikutnya.
Okay, and then next slide, which is the exercise we've just done. Next slide. Perfect. These are some of the questions you could use and the points that I've been making. Next slide.
Next. Followers. Followers now.
So, as I said at the beginning, you're not a leader without followers. I'm amazed that I've got followers in this room who, when I ask them to stand up and move seats, they will. I am absolutely clear, though, that that's because of my role at this point, because I am the speaker and acting in that role, and therefore you are responding to that, rather than any trust in me, because we've only had an hour to get to know each other.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna finish it. So let's think about followers very quickly. Next slide. Okay, making that point again, you are not a leader without followers, and you need to understand why people follow you. Next slide. Okay, so when we're talking about followership under leadership theory, we talk about a range of different things, and followers can be conceptualized as recipients of leadership, as moderators of leadership, people who modify and adapt leadership messages to work in different situations. Substitutes for leadership, so we might have bad leaders, so we might have followers who step in and make things work, and a range of other ideas. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so I just want to demonstrate a point about leadership and followership with one more exercise. We're going to play the game Simon Says. I didn't change the name. Okay? In this game, Simon, and I'm going to be Simon, will say something. And when I say something which is Simon Says, so Simon says, touch your nose, you touch your nose. If I give you an instruction without first saying Simon Says at the beginning, you don't want to do it. Okay? Can you translate?
Jadi sebenarnya agak biasa ya kita seperti ini, Simon Says ya, mengikuti apa yang dia ucapkan. Jadi Simon Says touch your nose berarti harus diikuti gerakannya, karena dia mengikuti apa yang dia sampaikan dan gerakannya.
Okay. Simon says stand up.
They understand. Yeah. Berdiri.
Simon says, put your left arm up in the air. I'm putting my left up. That's your yeah. Simon says, put your left arm down. Sing the national anthem. Everybody who started singing needs to sit down.
Nah, yang
You're out.
nyanyi harus turun, gagal, kamu gagal. Yang udah nyanyi tadi turun. Yang nyanyi yang duduk, karena sudah salah. Jadi jangan ikut berdiri.
Everybody who started singing has to sit down because I didn't say
Yang tadi nyanyi
Simon
silakan
says.
duduk ya, Anda didiskualifikasi, silakan duduk. Yang nyanyi, yang nggak nyanyi nggak usah duduk.
Simon says, turn around and face the other side of the room.
Silakan berputar ke sana. Aku terjemahan yang memerintahkan nggak boleh ya. Sedih aja wis aku.
Turn and face the front of the room.
Oh, they're good at it.
Turn and face. Simon says, turn and face the front of the room.
Ya, silakan menghadap ke depan lagi, Simon says.
Sing your favorite pop song.
Nyanyikan lagu favorit kalian yang pop.
Whoever started singing needs to sit down.
Yang tadi nyanyi silakan turun, didiskualifikasi.
Put your hand on your nose. Put the hand on their nose needs to sit down.
Yang menaruh tangannya silakan turun, gagal ya, gagal. Yang masih bingung, biar aja bingung terserah ya, biar kopiar.
Okay, let's finish the game there.
Finish?
Yeah, let's finish the game there, because I think we're making the point. What stopped people? Simon says sit down.
Silakan duduk ya. Nah.
Next slide. Okay. You were very good at following the Simon Says. You were listening hard. Sometimes, as leaders, people don't follow our instructions. We need to understand why that's the case. Maybe our instruction wasn't clear enough. Maybe people don't have the capability to do what we're asking of them. Maybe they don't care enough or not motivated to follow what we do. But for all of those three groups of people, we need to understand why. So why did people start to sing the national anthem? Why did people go to put their hand on their nose when I hadn't said Simon Says? Now, for different people in the room, it would have been different. Some people would have not been listening closely. Some people, it would be because they were following what the person was doing next to them, rather than listening to me. Some people may not have sung their favorite pop song because they're not very good singers. As leaders, we need to understand all of those different reasons and respond to them. Some people we need to motivate in a different way. Some people we need to give the skills. Some people we just need to communicate with more clearly or more directly.
Seorang pemimpin yang baik harus memahami karakteristik dari anggotanya yang berbeda macam, terutama ketika menerima perintah, termasuk tadi kenapa ada bisa jadi para anggota atau follower tidak mengikuti perintah karena beberapa hal. Yang pertama, tidak paham dengan perintahnya, pendengarannya kurang bagus, kemudian juga mungkin tidak peduli dengan yang disampaikan oleh pemimpin atau tidak mampu melakukan apa yang diminta oleh pemimpin. Tapi itu realita dari pemimpin yang baik harus memahami itu semua untuk memahami anggotanya.
Okay, that's the end of my lecture. We can go to questions. I hope I've shown 3 or 4 very simple exercises that you can use with children, but also adults, to demonstrate some issues around leadership. And I hope that I've given you some theory that will help you think about leadership in a different way than you have before.
Oke, semoga yang dilakukan tadi, game sederhana itu bisa memberikan wawasan dan keterampilan untuk mendidik ke anak didik dari Bapak Ibu sekalian nanti di sekolah. This is the end of the sessions, and we'll continue with QA sessions. Continue with QA session, we have remaining 15 minutes. And the rule is, first raise your hands, the second is please mention your name and go directly to your main questions without any background, without any elaboration, just go to main points. Okay, we invite first from this room. Any questions from this room, the audience? You can, yeah, right, okay. The first preference is in English, second preference in Bahasa Indonesia. Any other questions from the audience? No? All right, we start from the first one. Please mention your name and your direct questions or comments. Yeah. Please do.
Can you take a mic? There's a mic going backwards. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Fani Rimbi Widiawati. I want to ask you about the problem that I feel in our class. First, if the news a leader in a place and we meet the people that difficult to
understand?
I've already have habits that are difficult to change, and what should the leader do when we meet the followers already have habits that are difficult to change?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a very good question because it comes down to the core of what leadership is. People do find it difficult to change, and you know, we may all struggle in our own personal ways to change when we need to. Our job as leaders is to first of to understand with that person what they are struggling with, and sometimes it's going to be really easy to help them solve that issue. So it may be a very simple strategy that you can give them that they haven't thought of, or a way of having a conversation with a customer or another member of staff. They just need to be given the confidence to do it. So sometimes it's got to be about giving strategies and techniques, to giving them the skills, but then it's also about giving them the confidence, making them confident that they can do it.
Yeah. Do you want me to translate or have you already understood? Nah, mungkin untuk semuanya aja ya. Mungkin seringkali kita mengalami situasi di mana memang orang yang kita inginkan tidak mau berubah. Jadi yang bisa kita lakukan berusaha terus-menerus untuk memberikan penyadaran bahwa perubahan itu perlu dan lebih menguntungkan kalau kita mau berubah karena situasinya menuntut seperti itu. Jadi harus dengan kesabaran dan cara yang berbeda-beda untuk membuat orang yang kita ingin ubah itu bisa berubah sesuai dengan kita. Yes. Oh, another question. Another question? Okay, yes sir. Please. Senyamannya aja Pak.
Bagaimana resep UPIN di tempat yang dipimpin itu sangat variatif budayanya. Seperti kalau kita ngajar di tempat-tempat yang hujan misalnya, kadang-kadang bervariasi arahnya dari berbagai macam bahasa budaya.
How to be a good leader in various cultures, member who has various culture background, how to be a good leader with that?
I think you need to understand people's cultural backgrounds to understand what's going to motivate them. And so our job then as leaders becomes to understand that. I work on many international projects with people from 12 or 13 different countries overall. I am very clear that somebody from Spain is motivated differently to somebody from Indonesia, who is motivated differently from somebody from Moldova. And I have to take account of those things whilst trying to achieve the same objectives. I will apply different strategies to motivating people from those different cultures, because I know that they think differently and they have different backgrounds. Somebody in Moldova, for example, is going to be very distrustful of you until you've earned their trust. And so that takes some time, but once you've got their trust, they will do anything for you. And I think you've got to understand that would be very different in the UK. In the UK, people would do things more willingly, but they also want you to prove that things are going to work to good effect. So I have different challenges in the UK to Moldova, to Spain, to Indonesia, in terms of leading people. And in the UK, I can be much more blunt and forthright with criticism of people in public than I could in most other cultures. So I have to be careful as a leader to remember where I am.
Ya, ada yang pertama harus memahami perbedaan budaya itu karena memang tidak bisa dihindari. Yang kedua, memotivasi mereka untuk selalu berusaha bersama-sama mencapai tujuan yang sama sesuai yang diharapkan. Kemudian yang ketiga, berusaha mendapatkan kepercayaan dari mereka supaya mereka percaya dengan kita dan mengikuti apa yang kita sampaikan. Dan yang keempat, membuktikan bahwa apa yang kita leader sampaikan atau lakukan itu benar dan bisa dilaksanakan dengan berhasil sehingga mereka bersedia untuk mengikuti kita. Kira-kira 4 itu, Pak. Oke, thank you. Yeah. Alright, we still have 5 minutes. So any other questions? Yeah, from the left side, please.
Okay.
Yeah, stand up and introduce name and point of questions.
Okay, my name is Naura Hasnaiftinan, and my question is how to lead some people to be a good group that when we just have a short time to do that. Do you get what I mean?
I think you have to think and plan quite well about how you're going to get people to work together as a team. And that can be quite difficult. I mean, it depends what you mean a short time. Is a short time a year, or is a short time a week, or is a short time 2 or 3 hours? I think if you were talking hours, then you may, given that we've said that you need to adapt to circumstances, assume a leadership role and be more directive than you might be otherwise. But whilst trying to very quickly assess what different people's skills are. And hopefully you've got a team that are all motivated to meet the objective you've got. I think within school context though, most of the time you will be with staff that you know. So as a leader within your staff group, you will know people and what motivates them, but also your students you will get to know over a period of time rather than in hours. So if you're meeting people week by week for a couple of hours a week or all day every week, then you don't have that demand on you. You can take more time to get to know what motivates them, what interests them, all of those sorts of things, what their skill sets are. But if you are saying short amount of time in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, then there has to be a certain element of direction. But I think, like here, we've got an hour and a half. I haven't had a consultation with you about how we run this lecture, but as good followers, you are taking part. Hopefully by the end of where we got to Simon Says, you knew we were going to have some fun and that it was going to be non-threatening and that there was going to be a point to it. So you all took part. It didn't take much for me to lead this session because we all knew our roles and were willing to play them.
Pertanyaannya bagaimana untuk memimpin satu regu atau rombong atau satu kelompok dengan waktu yang terbatas? Jawabannya tergantung waktunya ya, karena tidak definitif, bisa pendek, menengah atau panjang. Kalau pendek itu berarti kira-kira yang direktif ya, direktif itu yang langsung to the point ya. Kemudian yang kedua sesuai dengan berikan asesmen kepada mereka, sehingga nanti dari hasil asesmen itu bisa diketahui kemampuan mereka seperti apa, kemudian dibagi secara proporsional. Contohnya tadi ketika ada 1,5 jam aktivitas ya dibuat permainan seperti Simon Says, dan karena anggotanya terlibat maka kemudian apa yang dituju oleh pemimpin bisa tercapai. Jadi dalam waktu yang pendek asal bisa melibatkan mereka mungkin bisa untuk digunakan cara sebagai menuju tujuan dari kelompok yang kita buat tersebut. Okay, that's the third questions. Any more? The fourth questions. Do you have any limitation of questions today? We have 2 more questions. Is that okay? Yep. All right. We still have 5 minutes. Yes. The fourth question, please. Wait a minute. We need to hear your beautiful voice. Wait.
My name is Sanke. I want to ask you about, sometimes we make a mistake as a leader, okay? But, so, how can I gain the trust from my followers for the second chance? Because sometimes not all of our followers will be trust to me for the second chance. So, should I get the trust again or just ignore it, or how? Thank you.
Thank you. A good question. Look, I think you to be a leader, there's different sorts of leaders. Yeah, there's good leaders, there's bad leaders, and there's toxic leaders. Good leaders are leaders who are good at what they do. They deliver results. They have followers who follow them. There's bad leaders who have good intent but are not very good at leading. And then we have toxic leaders who are motivated wrong. They may be good at leadership in some respects, but they're not really motivated by the right ends and the good things. We don't want toxic leaders. And so that's the first point, isn't it? Show people your motivations, show people why you are driven towards a particular vision, and enlist their help in meeting that vision. If they don't like the vision, then maybe they should go and work somewhere else. Yeah? You're not going to get everybody on board with you. That's one thing you've got to understand. We have the 50-30-20 rule. 50% will be on board, 30% will sort of come along, and 20% will actively not want to be with you. Not everybody, and you have to accept that as a leader. You still have to try and bring them along, but there are some people, they can go elsewhere. And that's part of leadership, building a team that will come with you and recognizing not everybody will want to come with you and what to do about it. But I think your question was more about how sometimes we are not good at what we do because we're not competent and we make mistakes. I think even competent leaders will make mistakes. And I think first of all you need to understand why you made the mistake. Did you make the mistake in the way that you dealt with somebody because you're tired and you're exhausted and you just didn't have the capacity as a leader that day to talk in the way that you would normally want to somebody? Or was there something more broadly that you're not able to do? When I talk to leaders, I mentor leaders in defense and security, in business, in higher education. At least 50% of them are bad at delegating to their staff. Delegation, most leaders are terrible at it. So if you recognize that you're not good at delegation, and most leaders are not, then you need to think about what needs to be done to make you better at delegating. Part of that is having staff that you've given the skills to delegate to. And then you've got to spend time with those staff to do the delegation. But the more that you get practice at it and it becomes habit, the more you will find it easy to delegate and you will get your processes in place. So what I'd say to you is when you do something that isn't good and you make a mistake, think about why. And then try and make sure that that why is taken away, that thing that's preventing you from doing it. So if you're tired and exhausted, make sure that you structure your time so that you get enough rest, so that you aren't tired and upset and ratty when you talk to your staff. In the same way as if you are not good at delegating, that you learn to give people the skills and take the time with them to enable them to understand what it is to do and support them through the learning process. So I think that's two things. What you absolutely can't do is start to get scared of doing things wrong. And you need to have a conversation with your staff where they need to understand that you are human as a leader, as they are human. Everybody makes mistakes, and that you try to only make that mistake once. That's the case for your staff. It'll also be the case for you.
Oke, banyak yang disampaikan, tapi poinnya yang pertama kira-kira ketika melakukan kesalahan itu masih manusiawi karena setiap orang pasti berbuat salah, dan berusaha untuk membuka komunikasi, percakapan dengan anggota, menjelaskan kenapa sebagai seorang pemimpin salah, kemudian berkomitmen untuk tidak mengulangi kesalahan lagi, sehingga akan mendapat kepercayaan dari anggota. Kemudian yang kedua, jangan membuat keputusan ketika kondisinya tidak sedang fit, ya, misalnya kecapean atau kelelahan, karena itu berpengaruh terhadap kualitas keputusan. Kalaupun harus melakukan hal yang tersebut, maka usahakan di lain waktu harus menstruktur atau menyusun ulang waktunya supaya ketika menyampaikan dalam keadaan fresh, ya, tidak dalam kondisi yang kecapean dan tidak fit. Yang ketiga, ada aspek delegasi, jadi ketika tidak mampu melakukan semua maka boleh mendelegasikan kepada stafnya, tetap dengan monitoring, dan ketika pendelegasian salah, tidak maksimal, maka itu wajar, yang penting ada proses evaluasi. Dan yang terakhir, setiap kebijakan, setiap yang disampaikan pemimpin tidak mungkin 100% akan setuju, dan masih wajar kalau tidak semua mengikuti, karena itu wajar dalam sebuah manajemen. Anggota itu tidak 100% mengikuti apa yang disampaikan oleh pemimpinnya. Ya, that's all. Okay.
We have time for one more question, or
yeah,
we run out
I guess
of
so.
time?
Yeah, the last question from the handsome man.
Well, with a class, you've got to keep them there, haven't you? You've got to, I mean, I think, why do people not learn from mistakes? Maybe it's because they don't have the competence. No, if I'm really honest about it, I struggled with maths at school. I was really rubbish at maths. And yeah, 20, 30, 40 years on, I can do it easily. Okay, so it was a matter of practice. I think the people who don't learn from mistakes, I mean, it depends whether they're being disruptive, or depends on whether it's just that they're not getting something that you want them to learn. If they're being disruptive, then you need to try and understand what the cause of the behavior is, and then try and change the conditions around them so that that behavior doesn't reoccur. That's our jobs as teachers. is to give people the conditions where they can learn, okay? And so it's our job to make changes that hopefully will enable that person to perform within the context of the resources that we have. But if it's something about learning a topic or a subject, then we need to find another way maybe to teach it. I don't think you can learn leadership by reading a book. You have to go out and try it. And pretty much that's the same with maths for me. When I was learning from an exercise book and, you know, theoretical exercises, it didn't make any sense to me. In the real world, it does. And people learn in different ways. We have to recognize that. So other people do learn from books very well. So we need to understand what's going to help that particular student learn what it is that you're trying to teach them. Yeah, and there's millions of different ways, or hundreds at least, different ways of teaching the same thing. There always is. So we just have to be innovative and think about how we can do things differently for them. Okay? I hope that answers your question.
Semakin banyak pertanyaan ke belakang semakin susah ya sepertinya ini. Saran beliau adalah mencari akar permasalahan dari kenapa dia bisa berulang kali salah ya misalnya gitu. Nah dari akar permasalahan yang ditemukan kemudian berusaha berinovasi untuk mencari cara bagaimana supaya orang tersebut atau siswa tersebut tidak mulai hal yang sama dengan memberikan berbagai pilihan supaya dia bisa perform, karena setiap orang, setiap siswa mempunyai cara sendiri untuk bisa perform, terutama untuk leadership-nya. Jadi memang harus selalu berinovatif dan mengetahui akar dari permasalahan siswa tersebut, gitu kira-kira. Semoga bisa dipahami ya Mas ya. Nah, oke. Now it's already been 11:30. Time is up for us. It's very interesting. Actually, if we have more time, I believe that there will be more questions from the audience here and in the YouTube. But it's already also Friday. We also need to prepare for the Jumat prayers. And if you allow me, we will end our sessions. Again, this is really exciting, interesting, enlightening, and opening our horizons of how to develop leaderships, knowing the types of leaderships, and how to grow and how to develop leaderships to our students. It's very enlightening and opening our world view. Again, for the last, send a big applause for Mr. Didi. Yeah. For the closing, I want to say, Simon says, send big applause to Mr. Didi. Okay, before we close, do you have any final thought or like final closing remarks?
Can I just thank you for your participation in the session? I hope it was useful to you. Can I just say, everybody in this room has the potential to be a leader, whatever your title. So leadership can be from the bottom up, from your organization, but also every student in your room also has the potential to be a leader. Please remember that and help them become well-motivated, confident leaders. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the closing remarks. There are many things I want to sum up, but one of your statement which is very impressing me is everyone is leader in their different way and different contexts. It's very magical word from today. Big applause for the quotation from Mr. Didi. You can take a note, everyone is leader in the different way and the different context. All right, I am Nurfai Hasan. Apologize if I make mistake in moderating the sessions. Thank you so much. I close the session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. MC, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rifai, for being the moderator for today. And thank you for Dr. David Dawson for meaningful words and inspiring and helpful information for us about leadership for young people.
Okay.
And once again, please send big applause to our speakers.
Okay, thank you. Now we come to the next agenda is token awarding. We invite Miss Annie as representative of Faculty of Teacher Training to deliver the token for Dr. Dawson. And for Dr. Dawson, may you come to, in here. You can hear, yes. Okay, thank you. We hope with this token, Dr. Dawson will always remember us whenever I see this token. Okay, now we come to the last agenda is closing and photo session. I am Aisyah Ril Surya and also
I am Rara Rauda Sakamahardika.
Representing all of the committees, we would like to say thank you so much for your participation. And now, please come to the stage to take a picture together with the participant. Maybe all of you can stand up. Semuanya boleh berdiri dulu untuk foto bersama.